What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good, what even day is it today? Wednesday. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. Midweek news settings. And I'm joined by my partner in crime, as always, DJ, to discuss things all Manchester United. DJ, this is going to be a really fun one. I'm excited about
Here we
this
go.
one this evening because we're going to chat, discuss, debate who could, should, and maybe will be the next Manchester United permanent manager. Of course, Ralf Rangnick is currently the interim manager at the moment, but as he moves into his consultant role, whatever that is, at the end of the season, we're going to have a new permanent manager coming in. And there's been a lot of discussion as to who that person could be. The search is underway. It feels like, Willy Wonka settings, golden ticket.
Yeah.
Who's this new manager going to be?
Yeah.
Now, yesterday, Manchester United football director John Murtough and Richard Arnold, new chief executive of Manchester United, spoke about who this could be and the search for the new permanent Manchester United manager. This is what John Murtough had to say, quote, "We are conducting a thorough process for the appointment of a new permanent manager who will take charge this summer with the objective to get us back to challenging for those domestic and European titles." First of all, before we even get into the shortlist, DJ, what do you think about that quote? Challenging for those domestic and European titles.
Oh, listen, I think we've been here, done that with these guys. I mean, what else are they going to say? Do you know what I mean? It's they're not going to say, hey, guys, I just don't think we're going to be challenging for titles anytime soon. I mean, we've been here before. We've probably heard them say that maybe several times since Sir Alex left. So I think is at this point as fans, we're just like, we'll prove it then. Just prove it. Like, we don't even need those statements. Just prove it. So at this moment in time, I'm very skeptical. Very skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that when they said challenging for those domestic and European titles. And like you said, you do go like, okay, well, they've got to say that. But in reality, today, in terms of challenging domestic and European titles, what a job that is.
That's a massive, it's an uphill climb.
You know what I mean? That's a big challenge. Imagine that when you're starting opening day objectives. We want you to be challenging for the league and Champions League end of the season. You'll be looking around and be like, oh my goodness. So when it comes to a shortlist for Manchester United, this comes from Rob Dawson from ESPN. Manchester United are hopeful of making a long-term appointment ahead of next season after drawing up a 5-man shortlist, which does include Mauricio Pochettino and Erik ten Hag, which we will talk about both of those in this stream this evening. We do actually have 5 people we're going to talk about. I don't know if it's actually the 5, but it's 5 we're going to talk about. And we're going to start off talking about a bit of one that was a bit of a curveball. I don't think really anyone saw this one coming. And it's Carlo Ancelotti, the current manager of Real Madrid. So Rob Dawson also said, this is quite funny, DJ, because it said they're looking at a long-term appointment. And the first thing they start talking about is short-term managerial options. Kind of different to long-term, that one. Nevertheless, Manchester United are exploring short-term managerial options with Carlo Ancelotti identified as a potential candidate. That's what Rob Dawson says. Furthermore, it's also said that Carlo Ancelotti has emerged as a surprise candidate to become the next manager of Manchester United. Also, in addition to that, Rob Dawson is saying that while Sir Alex Ferguson is obviously a big admirer of Mauricio Pochettino, he has recommended that Manchester United consider Carlo Ancelotti if Pochettino rules himself out of the running. So what do you think? Carlo Ancelotti, what do you think about that one?
I think he's a stellar manager. I've always had a lot of respect for Carlo Ancelotti. If he came in, he wouldn't be sort of overwhelmed by big names. He's used to, managing big game players, especially ones that come with a name and a brand. I think it's a little bit left field. I just think, why would he want to leave Real Madrid? By all means, over there, it seems like he gets a lot of backing. He's going to get backing to sort of build them back up to the superpower that they used to be. I don't know. I think the only reason he'd come to Manchester United would be that he would literally have, full power and full control over what he would want to do and build a team in his image and likeness. But again, I think maybe the structure at Real Madrid maybe suits him a little bit better. Good manager. That's all I can say, really. World-class manager. He's up there. He's one of the top guys. But I don't know. I just think we need to be moving away from the old guard of managers. I think we need to start looking at the newer guys coming through that are going to be here for a little longer.
Well, the discussion isn't it, is that the reason why we would go for an Ancelotti is because essentially they would get rid of him for Poch and Pochettino would go to Real Madrid and then we would get Ancelotti. I mean, if you're going to look at, what's he done for us lately? What's he done lately? Obviously, his CV's there. He's obviously won a ton, throughout his career. But what's he done lately is always, I think, the best way to look at it.
Yeah.
They're top of La Liga now by 6 points, Real Madrid. So you're getting a manager that is going to probably win the Spanish league this season. Granted, it's not the same Spanish league like it was a couple of years ago, in the sense that Barcelona, in their situation at the moment, the closest competitor is Sevilla. Nevertheless, you're looking at a team that's probably going to win the league there. He has had some of his recent failures, right? He went to Bayern Munich, didn't go well.
Yeah.
He left there. He went to Napoli, didn't work out well there. Went to Everton. First season, I think he finished 12th, but that was half a season, so you go, okay. But I think it's almost, and I'm not trying to say like Carlo Ancelotti is a bad manager or a bad coach, because he's not, but I think it's kind of like almost a misnomer that he did really well at Everton. They finished 10th last season.
Yeah, that's the thing. Do you know what? I do think it's one of those things where a lot of these managers are living off past merits. A lot of them are. And, I said in the same case of Ronaldo, in terms of what have you done for me lately? And don't worry, guys, I'm not going to talk about Ronaldo today. It's not that show. But
we're talking about managers.
I'm just using the example of, it is about what you said, like, what have you done for me lately? And lately, he hasn't really been putting up trees. I mean, La Liga, yeah, but your closest rivals have got so much issues going on. Is it really competitive like that? Okay. I think the Premier League is the one that really does sort of separate. If you can do well in the Premier League as a manager, then you've earned your pay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's 62 years old, which I think is curious because Ralph Rangnick's 63. Not much of a difference. Not much of a difference there. It's a short-term option, but at this stage, given that we're going to have so many people leaving in the summer, whether it's coaches, whether it's managers, whether it's players, obviously we just CEOs, we've got everything's changing at Manchester United at the moment. Yeah. Is it probably naive to think short-term and think, you know what, we've got to think long-term? I know people hate the term rebuild, and I know we've gone through like a million different rebuilds, but do we have to just look at, no, we can't go for, like you said, for the old guard. We've got to think long-term.
Yeah, I think this is a prime opportunity for Manchester United to sort of now look forward to the future. If, Richard Arnold and everyone behind the scenes is really serious about winning domestic and European cups, then they know that to win those European and domestic cups, it takes more than what you put out on the pitch. It's what goes on behind the scenes. So if they really want to bring a manager in, they need to be a little bit more forward thinking. Looking at guys like, and no disrespect to them, Jose and Carlo Ancelotti even. Yeah, they were great in their time. They're winding down now. Let's go and get someone who's on the ascendancy. Let's go get someone who's for now, who's for the next couple of years as well. Poch does kind of fit that mold, and so does Ten Hag, and we'll get into those in a minute. But, I think we need to veer away from the old guard of managers. It's a new era now. We need to kind of look forward.
I suppose on the flip side to that, like we said, he is going to probably win the Liga this season.
Yeah.
And if we're looking for, whilst we say we've got a long-term rebuild, is he someone, considering his age and experience, is he someone that can do an immediate impact straight away? It's not as if we've got bad players. Could he be one to actually, galvanize the squad quite quickly?
Do you know what? I think if United were put in any position to have a short-term sort of option, just stick with Rangnick then, because he knows the players. He knows the players, and he's been there for 6 months. I think if we're going to do this short-term thing again, it's just kind of setting ourselves back, because he's going to have to get to know the players, buy the players, all of that stuff. We've just gone through I don't know how many months Rangnick's even been in the job, 4 months, 4 months now, whatever. It's got to the point where
not even long as that, I don't think. It's
I think it feels forever.
2 and a bit, 3 maybe.
2 and a bit, 3 maybe. And we've gone through the teething problems of having someone new come in, we've gone through those teething problems now. And finally, even though these group of players, they're not going to stay together, I think we all know that, we're getting some form of a resemblance of playing a certain style. The results ain't coming. But my long-winded point is, if we're going to do the short-term option, just stick with Rangnick, because he knows these players. He knows the club now.
Well, that's a good transition, actually, because that was going to be my next question. If we get to that situation then, and for whatever reason, Poch isn't available, he goes to Real Madrid, or he might win the Champions League at PSG, and then PSG go, whoa, we're not We're not getting rid of the guy that's
Not
finally
getting
won
rid
the
of you.
Champions League for us.
Yeah.
That's not happening. If Ten Hag goes, you know what, I don't actually think that's probably the right project for me. And then suddenly all these people start to eliminate themselves. Why not go for Ralf Rangnick for another season, right? Why not do
Yeah.
that? I mean, some statistics here, and these come out the last couple of days, and I think this kind of backs up what quite a few fans have been saying about him recently, is that he's not necessarily doing a poor job at all.
He's
If
not.
anything,
He's
the
not.
jobs he's been doing is actually pretty impressive. I mean, if you look at, nobody has made more chances. Nobody has made more chances in the Premier League since Ralf Rangnick has arrived. That's unbelievable, frankly. If you look at points since Ralf Rangnick took over, Manchester City 34, Liverpool 29, Manchester United 26. So Manchester United have only lost one game in the league since Ralf Rangnick's appointment. Again, that's still, nearly less than 8 points off. I had to add that really quickly then. That's 8 points behind Man City. But, if this was the beginning of the season, you were in third place, they'd be taking it. They'd be taking that at the moment. Again, if you want to look at chances, nobody in the Premier League has made more chances since Ralf Rangnick took over, 160 chances. But during that period of time, 4 teams have scored more goals than Manchester United. So, again, my long-winded point there is, if we're saying short term, if we're saying, maybe we need some more older, experienced head, have we already got the guy?
We've got the guy. And you're right. I think he's done a good job. I think he's done a good job for the chaos and the mess that was left on his plate when he joined Man United. Ollie kind of left us in a really weird situation. The mood, the morale at Old Trafford was down. I'm not saying that these problems haven't slightly continued since Rangnick was there, but I think what he has done, he's done a lot of firefighting. He's put out a lot of fires. He's answered the questions as honestly as he can. He's almost passed the buck back to the players to make them accountable. I think he's done a stellar job. And, for whatever reason, if our number one targets eliminate themselves, then I would say give the job to Rangnick. Because one thing I do know about Rangnick, and whilst you're reading off those stats, I was thinking, if you give this man, a decent amount of money, he will bring in, and I really think he'll bring in cost-effective, good quality players, good age, good profile, and he'll know exactly what he wants to play. It's not like he's going to have to think, what do I need to do? He knows exactly what he's going to want to do and what players would fit that system. And if you gave him a war chest of, what's our annual budget? We have like 150 million, something like that. That's our...
Sometimes more, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes more, maybe 200 million to spend. He is one of the very few managers I do trust with that money, that I think is going to make good choices, work with, people behind the scenes to get the correct players. And I think he's not a pushover either. I think he will voice his opinion and say, no, I want X and Y player from such and such. I know they only cost 35 million, but trust me, I reckon I can get a tune out of them. I think us fans, that's sort of like music to our ears. I don't see him going for big marquee signings. I don't know if I think some of the guys who are watching the show probably have seen the clip of him signing a few autographs, and fans are like, "Oh, you're gonna go get Haaland, Rice," and he's like, "Who?" He's like, yeah, I don't know what you're on.
Yeah,
mate.
I saw. So yeah. I think it was might be Dimitar Berbatov said, "Oh, it's not a good look," and all that kind of stuff. But I thought, why again? Ralph to me is just one of the most honest people you'll find. They've gone Haaland, Rice, someone else. And he's like, you kidding me? It's not Football Manager. I mean, 1 maybe, but come on, 4. That's crazy. It's crazy talk.
And he's not silly. I mean? If he turned around and said, "Oh yeah, maybe 1," the headlines would have gone crazy, and then that's creating expectation for the summer.
Yeah, and it's shirt signing after a game, innit?
Exactly. I mean? Yeah. And he just probably wants to just go home. Yeah.
King of the Indies says, our fixtures were really easy, Owen. Can look at the points gained. The quality of opposition matters. Mark Riley says, but we've drawn with Newcastle, Burnley, Watford, Southampton and Villa, teams we should be winning against. So a lot of people saying, Sim says, the next 5 or 6 games will expose Rangnick. He's just another Ollie. You'll change your tune in a few weeks. Stats against the bottom teams don't make me laugh. Sim is saying no, apparently, to Ralf Rangnick.
Fair play.
I mean, I you know what, Sim, appreciate the opinion as always. I would agree with you that I think that March would be like, okay, because let's face it, if he gets through March and he wins every single game, people would be like, man, did not see that one coming. I don't think that's going to happen, by the way, but I'm just saying, as I've said so many times here this season, a lot can change between now and the end of the season. And to be honest, Sim, if we do lose every single game in March, again, I don't think people would look at Ralph and go terrible. I think they would just go like, this season. which we're just in general, we're terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, I think a lot of people look at Ralph and say, you know what, he's not a bad manager. He's not a bad guy. I don't think throughout all of this, anyone can go, he's not a good coach.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I'm a fan of his in a sense of kind of like looking at the work he's done abroad and then kind of how he's applied himself here. Don't get me wrong, guys. I still want us to go and get a number one manager that we want, long-term manager. But I'm saying if all the chips are down and we literally have nobody, just stick with Ranić because you know what you're going to get. And I do trust him to. If we're looking for a rebuild, he's one of the best people to do a rebuild of such. So
it's curious, isn't it? It's curious. Yeah. It's almost like a thought experiment of what if he did have a full preseason in the transfer window? That's the thought process, isn't it? I mean, but I suppose on the flip side of that, the question would be, and I've seen quite a few people talking about this on social media too, is where is Ranić most effective for Manchester United going forward? Is he most effective as being a manager on a short-term basis, or is he more effective as a consultant actually recommending things to those higher ups and being a football person influencing some football decisions at the club?
I think that's a very good question. And I would have to say probably the latter. I think he is better behind the scenes. His knowledge of the game is really extensive. You know, he's highlighted a lot of gems, a lot of players over the years, players that now are big names that go for big money at big clubs. So, you know, he is someone that his knowledge is going to be really valuable. And I think and I was saying, you know, a lot of people were saying, oh, let's keep Ranić. And I was against it in terms of if our number one targets are available, go get your number one manager that you want. But if all the chips are down, as I said, then I wouldn't mind Ranić taking over. But I think if we can get a manager in, you have then a new manager, accomplished, talented, and then you push Ranić behind the scenes. You then have another talent behind the scenes that wasn't there when Ranić was manager. So you're almost getting two geniuses or two good brains of football. I'm not going to count the rest of them behind the scenes, but those two at least that can drive this team forward and drive the club forward. So I'd rather settle for that.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I would probably argue he's probably more effective behind the scenes because that's what he's been doing the last decade, right? Out of the last 10 years, 2 of it he's been coaching. So obviously he's got more recent experience. He knows how modern football clubs run and operate, especially in the transfer market. And we know our flaws in the transfer market in recent years. And that goes both ways, not just in terms of recruiting players, but also letting them go from the club too. I think, if anything, you could look at this whole time he's been the Manchester United interim manager as just this ginormous assessment period. He is going to know these players inside and out when it comes to, you know, the summer. He could tell those people that are doing those negotiations, Matt Judge, whoever, he could say, no, you get rid of him. Or no, keep him. He's probably worth keeping. Or we're thinking of getting this guy out on loan. No. I've seen him in training every day. Keep him. And I think that's something we haven't had. I mean, surely those conversations have probably happened in the past, but in terms of day to day, your focus is on, again, footballing decisions. That's probably where he's the most effective. And also, like you say, then him hopefully guiding whoever this next manager would be. That seems to be positive for Manchester United, and that's not really what we've had before.
And I also think that, you know, I think as fans we need to taper our expectations because I think the job in the summer is going to be the biggest job that we've probably ever seen, literally, at this club, because I think it's got to a point where enough's enough. You know, it's been nearly 10 years since we even won our domestic league that we play in. And as fans, we're getting tired of it. We're literally getting tired of sort of like, you know, the, false promises, fake statements, and just the way that we generally do business. So I think this summer we're going to have to get it right. And if Ranić's a part of that, we've got to taper our expectations because I think the size of what needs to change at Old Trafford isn't going to happen within this one summer. But if we can at least start it in this summer properly in the right way, then, you know, maybe the year after or whatever, we can start maybe getting close to a league title.
Mr. Unapologetic with the super chat, appreciate the contribution, says, if United fail to sign Ten Hag over Poch, we'll rule the day because he'll go to City once Pep leaves and we'll be here looking stupid. We are going to talk about Ten Hag later on, and that was one of my points, is that there has been this kind of like he might be a bit of an heir apparent to Pep. Let's talk about Poch now then, because as we've spoken about before, we know Sir Alex is a big fan of Poch. it still kind of surprises me how polarizing he is amongst the Manchester United fans. Now, he's going to win the league with PSG this season, and people will say rightfully so. People will point to that he didn't win the league with them last season. And I think it's worth, again, because you've got to have context in these kind of situations. When he took over from PSG halfway through the season from Thomas Tuchel, yes, they were behind Lille, but I think they were behind him by like a point, 2 points, 3 points maybe at a push. Yeah. And he didn't make that up throughout the remainder of the season, which is, again, I think worth pointing out. Now, when they played Real Madrid in the Champions League a couple of weeks ago, dominated Real Madrid, but it was only 1-0, and they still have to go to the Bernabeu. So that whole tie could change completely there. And who knows, those roles might completely reverse. We might be definitely getting Poch because Real Madrid don't want him in a couple of weeks because Carlo Ancelotti beats him. So obviously, we know his record at Spurs, what he did there. Should have probably won the league, especially the year when Leicester won the league. Didn't win a Champions League final that, frankly, probably they weren't the favourites to win that year. But getting there, they beat a Manchester City, which that season got 100 points in the league. So impressive, over 2 legs. They beat or came back against Ajax in unbelievable fashion. You've got style of football, but people will always point to what has he won. Does that change after this season for Pochettino because he wins the French title, or does that not mean anything?
That's a good question. I think some will see it as it not meaning anything, and some will see it as a badge of honor. Like that is what's going to get him the job. I do think it will give him the edge over Ten Hag if he does win, which is probably likely.
You think?
I think it will give him the edge. I think it will, because in terms of when he's sitting down on his CV, he's just adding something really recent to the CV and saying, "Look, I've just done that."
Be the same with Ten Hag, because he's going to win probably the Eredivisie, and we'll touch on that later. But
But then if we're going to be splitting hairs, it's about what league's more competitive? Is it PSG's league or is it Eredivisie?
Eredivisie, probably Eredivisie. Frankly, I mean, Ajax are only 2 points ahead. PSG 5 million.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, like he knows the Prem. You know, I think we was here a few weeks ago actually having the same debate in a sense, and you know he's been to the Prem before. But does that give him the sort of the right to be ahead of Ten Hag? Who knows? I do think he's an amazing manager. I do like Poch. I actually do like Poch. I just think that at this moment in time, he's got a bit of bad press around him. You know, people across the waters aren't really looking at him like he's how we look at him, sort of thing. So maybe there is something in that. I think with Ten Hag, it's kind of the opposite. He's more so got a lot of positivity around him. There's a lot more.
Is that because he's the shiny new toy as opposed to Poch, who's probably he's feeling like Poch is feeling like Woody in Toy Story 1 when Buzz Lightyear's come around.
Buzz Lightyear's just come about. And you know what? That's a good point, because I think with the Ten Hag thing, I think they're basing it literally off Ajax's accomplishments this season. Like they've been phenomenal. So I think that's what really sticks out in terms of teams actually really being sort of, you know, impressive, because their stats are impressive. I think it was something like they haven't really conceded many goals. They've scored 7. A lot of goals.
7. They've conceded 7.
That's crazy.
I did the research coming into this one. I'm prepared for it. It was 7. But then, okay, so with the Poch one, like you said, they've been impressive this season. But then couldn't you say the same about PSG? Have they not been impressive to you this season? But then I suppose it's the case of, but the players that they've got, people expect them to be, you know, never lose a game, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's always like, you know, a lot of people say, oh, if you gave me the players that Poch or Zidane had, blah, blah, I could manage the team in my sleep. I wouldn't even have to coach. I'd just go out and win. And, you know, there is an element of that when I do think of sort of like, you know, your Real Madrids and PSGs. However, I just think that, again, when you look at sort of what Ten Hag's done, and you can kind of see where I'm leaning. I'm kind of leaning into the Ten Hag camp. If you look at the players that he has, they're young, they're not necessarily massive names, and he is literally making them perform out of their skin. And I think that is something that he's going to come to Manchester United, maybe not have the star-studded squad of a PSG in terms of how many players you're going to have. A lot of players are going to leave. So if you had to back a manager out of, say, Poch and out of Ten Hag, who's going to come in, maybe have 1 or 2, 3 star players, and then he's going to have to bring in some very good players around them. who would you kind of back? And I think that's the question, because United's a whole different environment from PSG and even from Ajax in itself.
Red Baron says, I think we as United fans need to be targeting the Premier League for letting these rich owners in to buy clubs and inflate their sponsors. It's ethically wrong. Just saying, I'm not saying it just because I'm a United fan. Also, another super chat here from Ronaldo's back in, obviously. He says, I'm okay with any manager that won't bench me as my knees ache from the moisture in the air. Always moisture in the air. Always moisture in the air with Ronaldo. There's been this sort of thing about Poch as well. I've seen people say that the reason why people would prefer Ten Hag over him is because Poch is a manager on the way down as opposed to Ten Hag who's on the way up. Do you think that's fair? Because for me, I don't know. Is that fair? Because I don't think that's particularly fair.
I'll be honest. I think I'm a little bit on that narrative. I'm one of those people that kind of believe. Yeah, I kind of do believe that.
How so? How so? What is there to say for you to say, okay, he's on the way down? Jose Mourinho is firmly on the way down, right?
Yeah.
Spurs 1-0. Roma are like 7th in the league, getting last-minute Tammy Abraham penalties. This is a guy on the way down. It hasn't worked out for him in a while.
Yeah.
Poch going to win the league this season, right? Probably on the way. That would imply he's on the way up. Yeah. I mean, who knows when it comes to the Champions League? My argument would be, what is there to say that he's on the way down, in your opinion?
And that's a good question. I think it is. And guys, I'm just like you guys. I think Ten Hag is just a shiny new thing. His Ajax team is impressive, young players. I think it's more of a preference thing. I think Ten Hag's style of play, the players that he has, fits kind of what I personally like. So I will then jump on the narrative of, Poch is on the way down. But
so is it just an exposure thing?
Is
it just a recency thing? The reason he's on the way down is because we as English football fans have seen Poch since, when did he go to Southampton? Like 2014? Might have been earlier than that. 2013? Yeah. Oh, a long time. Maybe 2012. Maybe we might have seen Poch for like a decade or something like that. Yeah. So we just assume he's got to be on the way down because I've known him for ages, right?
Yeah, I've known him for ages.
Down. Whereas Ten Hag, this has only been more of a recent thing over. I think he became Ajax manager in the end of 2017, so like 4 years. So he's got to be on that timeline on the way up. Do you reckon it's just a case of that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I'll tell you what it is for me. I think it's a thing of Poch has been linked to United for so long, and I just think, he's been linked to us for so long. Let's move on from that. Ten Hag's the brand new guy, but also I think it's the intricacies of kind of, you have the stats there for Ajax, like what he's done. I think those stats really do stick out. You know, they really do stick out, because just imagine, just for a split second, that he actually goes to City and is given the wealth of oil money that they have. He's probably going to work wonders. Like, we probably won't even get close to a league title.
You could say that about a lot of managers, because pretty much every manager post Mancini, or pretty much every manager that they've had, has gone there and won a title at Man City. No?
Yeah.
Mancini, Pellegrini.
Yeah. Pellegrini, even. You're right. I think maybe it's just a style thing. You know, I think if you look at the two managers, their styles, I think Ten Hag's looks a little bit more nice on the eye. Poch has got all these big players. It's really difficult. It is really difficult, because I think what the deciding factor would be for both of them is that United is just a different animal. The way it's run, the exposure of the club. If Poch thinks that he's getting bad headlines in France, wait till he gets here if he comes here. Because here, it's different. Do you know what I mean? It's a different size. And I think it would be to question who can manage that pressure and who can actually come in and work with the players we have and identify new players. It's a tough one. It is tough. It is very tough.
But wouldn't that granted be then the counter argument to a Ten Hag? Because people would say, well, what experience has he got in terms of managing a big side like that?
And that
Premier League side and the biggest club in the world.
It's true. But I think, again, I just think that we need to get the manager that is seemingly, narratively on the ascendancy. Whether there is stats even to prove that, I don't know. But I think Ten Hag, what he's done with Ajax is just very impressive. I think it even sticks out more than what Poch is doing, because I think Poch is expected to win the league with that team. I think what he did with Tottenham was a very sort of parallel to kind of what Ten Hag was doing with Ajax. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a parallel in that in that as well. So either way, I'll support whoever we get out of the two. I know there's some other sort of like wild cards that could potentially come in as well. But I think those two should be the front runners. I do think it's going to be Poch though. I want it to be Ten Hag, but I do think it'll be Poch.
When it comes to Poch, obviously we've heard the last couple of weeks that Real Madrid are interested. That really came after the game that they had in the Champions League, which again, I must stress, is not over. There have been one leg out of two. So like that could change dramatically over the course of, the coming weeks. But Real Madrid are reportedly interested. They really like him. After seeing that performance, they went, "Oh, that was pretty. We enjoyed that." Does Real Madrid being interested in Pochettino, does that sway your head at all? Or have you made your mind up in that situation? Because I've seen some people, and I don't really consider myself to be like this, but there will be some people that are like, "No way, Poch." And then they'll go, "Real Madrid are interested. And they'll go, "What?"
What? Yeah. Good question. I think Real Madrid are kind of I wouldn't say they're in a similar situation to us, no, but I think that they're going to be doing sort of like a mini rebuild of such. They want the brand new manager to come in. Poch is a talented manager. No matter what I'm saying here now, I'm not saying he's not.
Because that would be the response then. If he's good enough for a rebuild at Real Madrid,
he's good enough for a rebuild at
rebuild at Manchester United. Or is one job bigger than the other, frankly?
I think our job's much bigger, way bigger. He's going to have to contend with, he's going to have to contend with a lot more stuff at our club. As I said, the scrutiny that comes with it. If Poch comes in, I think both managers would be under scrutiny, but fairly kind of looking at it, if I'm going to be honest and fair, I think if Ten Hag was to come into Manchester United, the scrutiny would be way more than it would be for Poch. Poch has always been seen like as the heir apparent to link to Manchester United. It was kind of similar to when Jose was when he was at Real Madrid, was linked to United. He loves United. I think.
Do you think that's the problem as well? Then, do you think that's the problem too? Is that, like you said, this was a guy who Manchester United wanted to replace Jose Mourinho in 2018. We're talking 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, do you reckon it's just a case of maybe in some fans' eyes, Pochettino's moment has passed, and it's a case of no, like we didn't go for that then. It didn't happen. Let's move on to something else. Do you think that's the reason why?
Yeah, again, the recency bias thing is a real thing. I'm infected by it right now, guys. I'll be very honest with you. Like, both managers, stellar, really good. They play young players, different styles, but there is attacking football in there, styles of play, all of that stuff if you want that as a fan. It just comes down literally, and that's what we're doing here on the show tonight, is we're literally breaking down every molecule, every little bit that we can to see which one would be the best fit. Ten Hag hasn't had any experience with, let's say, big name, massive players, prefers younger players and then builds them up, develops them, goes through the systems. Poch has had managed big game players, but can also kind of manage youth when he needs to and slightly unknown players, and has Premier League experience. So, and he comes with good recommendation from Sir Alex, and a lot of people behind the scenes will dare. I don't think it is. I personally don't think it is. Sir Alex told us about Moyes. I love Sir Alex. I'll never say a bad word against him. But again, it's about moving forward. And if we're looking at relics of the past, it's not moving forward, is it? We need to be moving forward and be forward thinking. Going and having a chat with Sir Alex, having tea with Sir Alex or wine or whatever, that's all old school stuff now. Again, we need to be on the front foot now.
Yeah, I think we've said it before. I think the Poch fear, if you want to call it, from some people, I think is slightly irrational in that I don't think it's as cut and dry as one would think. I do think there's a recency bias in there. I don't think there's a ton of difference between Ten Hag and Poch. I really don't, because I think, like, if you want to look at CVs and all that kind of stuff, I think it's very similar. I do. Yeah. What if he wins the Champions League this season, Pochettino?
If he wins the Champions League, then hey, he becomes the Manchester United manager.
What do you think so? Do you think so? Because if he wins the Champions League, PSG, do you not think they'd be like, there you go, you can stay as long as you want? Or do you reckon in his mind, he's like, I'm done, I'm out of here?
I think, you know what? I do think there might be a lot of water under the bridge over there. I've heard he's not been having the best time over in France. And I think Manchester United would be, I think it's that every manager that has come, I think they've had that sort of, dream of, I could be the manager that makes this the most successful club again from Fergie, like since Fergie. I could be the manager because whatever manager does win the league with Manchester United, they're gonna be
write their own ticket. Write their own ticket.
Yeah. They're celebrity 100. Like they are literally going to be top manager of the world at that point because Manchester United Football Club is a dynasty. Do you know what I mean? And to carry on that work that Fergie's done and be the guy. Listen, you write your name into stars like legendhood. So if I think the United job is an attractive prospect, but I do believe it is going to be ultimately the behind the scenes stuff that's going to matter. I think it's that. I do think it's that because you don't want to go into a workplace where, you know, you're given half your tools to do the job. You know, you don't get on with this person. This person's actually telling you what you should be doing, you know? So I think there's just too many cooks at Manchester United behind the scenes, if I'm completely honest. Too many cooks.
I think it's interesting because I think if PSG won the Champions League, which I know people say it's not going to happen, but you look at the team, anything is possible. You know, we're talking about a team that could turn it on at any second. So anything's possible. If PSG won the Champions League, I'm not saying this will happen, but if they won the Champions League and Poch did a Jose Mourinho after he won the Champions League with Inter Milan, you know, he just takes it off. Yeah. You know, takes it off, walks down the tunnel, and because he's going to Manchester United. Can you imagine the reaction from United fans? Oh my God, they would go crazy.
They would.
We got the Champions League winning manager coming in. He took his medal off for us, all that kind of stuff. Ugh. But the reason I say that is I don't think PSG are going to win the Champions League this season. I actually think it's going to be an English side. I think it'll probably be, City or Liverpool, to be honest, which is really depressing. But
thanks.
But you know, I just want to keep it lively on a Wednesday. You know what I mean? It's good to have a bit of motivation midweek. Nevertheless, I think that. Yeah, I think if he did win the Champions League, I think people's narrative would change a lot. But then, of course, it would because he would have won something, and people would go, that's all we've wanted. We always wanted him to win something." Yeah. So, that's the Poch dilemma. Let's talk more in depth about Erik ten Hag, though, because this is quite interesting when it comes to Ten Hag, because it is something that us as fans and people on social media have been saying for a while. And this comes again from Rob Dawson as part of this big article. He says that there have been some suggestions that Erik ten Hag has reservations about the setup at Manchester United, having worked well in a clearly defined structure at Ajax. What do you think about that one, DJ?
I would too, Eric. I would as well. And he's a smart man. And you can tell, you know, and I'm not saying that Poch wouldn't do the same or have reservations the same way. It does show me that Ten Hag needs to maybe have a certain support system around him. And he's been catered to. He's been looked after and he's been allowed to do what he wants to do at Ajax. And he's got the backing of Overmars and the backing of Van der Sar. At United, it's been so chaotic. A lot of people with different roles, different titles. Do most of these roles and titles really mean anything sometimes? Not a lot. Fletcher's a technical director. What does that even mean? We don't know his job description.
Well, he had to come out and say it this week, didn't he? He sort of said 3 different things. He went, well, I work with the academy, working on the pitch, working with transfers. I kind of empathise for the guy, to be honest, because he was like, and that's only because, you know, Ralph and his team came in November and Michael and Kieran left, so I had to kind of step in. I'm like, I mean, this guy, it's his first job, which again, that should not be happening at Manchester United. Him being his first job, being a technical director of Manchester United. But 2, the fact that a guy is spinning plates at one of the biggest clubs in the world is crazy.
It's crazy. Exactly. And what you've just spoke about is what Ten Hag's probably hearing. He's probably thinking, I don't know. And again, it comes down to the environment. Is the environment going to be good for Erik ten Hag? And you know what? If he turned around and said thanks but no thanks, I don't think any of us would blame him, to be honest. But it's up to United. If they if once they do their interview process and whatever, if they really do feel that he's their guy, they're gonna have to sell it to him. They're gonna have to sell it to him and cater to him. And Rangnick might be the guy to do that.
Maybe it's a good point. Waiting for United to win a trophy says, can't donate every day, but it's day 3. I hate to break this to you, waiting for United to win a trophy. It's way longer than day 3. It's significantly longer than day 3. The last trophy we won was in May 2017, the Europa League. So, I mean, I'm not going to even attempt to do that kind of quick maths in my head. You can let me know in the chat. If someone comes up with that, I'll put it on the screen because I'll tell you what's unbelievable. If you can get the amount of days from then to today, I'd love to see it. But yeah, I mean, it's true. If he has reservations about coming into United because he's like, I'm not sure what the defined structure is at United. Fair, because the fans, we don't either. Ralph Rangnick's the interim manager. He doesn't know what the structure is. He was asked about Darren Fletcher. He went, I don't know. Nice to have him around, though. Great guy, which is like, and I think that's probably why Darren Fletcher has kind of come out this week and been like, no, I'm doing this because it gives off the impression, he's in his office counting pencils with Mike Phelan, which is not the case.
It just seems so unprofessional, don't you think? It seems very unprofessional for Manchester United to be going through this. This is crazy.
Exactly. So I can understand that. And I think also from with football managers, you only really are as good as your last sort of performance or your last team or your last final, your last trophy. And I think he would probably be thinking as well that if I did go to United and it is a bit of just a mess ahead of me, like that could be a catastrophic failure. And then what does my career look like after that?
It's true.
I am a manager that's considered to be on the ascendancy right now. I am an in vogue manager. Do I really want to risk what I'm doing right now because I go to United and it all goes wrong? Yeah. And also I think about it, and this kind of goes into maybe he might be the guy to replace Pep, or he might be the heir apparent to replace Pep. Talk about going into a place where there is a very, very, very clearly defined structure in that place. You've got the director of football used to be the one there. That was one of, or technical director was one at Barcelona when Pep was there. That's why Pep's there. So I think that, again, some people are sort of saying, well, in the future, he's got a very similar playing style to Pep. The structure's there. Yeah. He could be the one to replace him. And if that's the case, should we not try and snap him up immediately?
Yeah, and I think that does play a part in it. I think if we're going to, forward thinking, Man City are not going to go in for Pochettino if Pep goes. They're never going to do that. Why? Because they have a firm, defined style and they kind of already, Ten Hag is probably on their list. They probably already made little slight nudges towards him to say, hey, look, we're building something here. You could be a part of that. The Man City project looks way more promising than ours. I think the way we could sell it to him would be that, Rangnick's behind the scenes now. It's a whole change. We're changing everything for you. Quotation.
We've got a new chief executive as well.
Paul Mitchell might be coming in somewhere or whatever his name is.
He just came to watch. He just came to watch a game of football. DJ. That's all he came to watch. A game of football.
I don't believe in coincidences.
He went from Monaco to Manchester to watch a game of football.
Yeah,
youth football.
Yeah.
Interesting, that one. But when it comes to Ten Hag, you mentioned about the league, which league is more competitive. As I mentioned, they're only 2 points ahead of PSV in the Eredivisie. Like you said, the fact that they're only 2 points ahead of PSV, yet they've only conceded 7 goals this season. 7.
That's
not
crazy.
Even double figures. 7 goals in 24 games. His win percentage, I came in hard, by the way, guys. I really did my prep one. I'm feeling very good about myself this evening. Went on Wikipedia. So 202 games he's had at Ajax. He has a win percentage of over 73%. He's been there since the 28th of December, 2017. He got to the first Champions League final for Ajax since 1997. He's the fastest manager in league history to reach 100 victories with Ajax. He did that in 128 matches. So those stats there, of course, are very, very, very impressive. Are those the kind of things which, again, justify the assumption that this is a guy on the ascendancy?
I think it is, but he is within a well-oiled machine. And it's like putting a fish out of water. If you can't give that fish the same sort of environment it needs to breathe and live, it may die. It may not do well. Yeah, it's just going to die. I'm not saying, guys, I'm not wishing death on Eric Ten Hag. I'm just saying it was an analogy. It was a comparison. I do think that if he is the guy we want, they need to make some changes behind the scenes. And it looks, call me conspiracy theorist, it looks like they may be doing that. Because having, say, Ralph behind the scenes, Paul Mitchell behind the scenes, now we do go from having a really poor backroom setup to looking very impressive and very forward thinking and very proactive. Would Ten Hag like that? Who knows? So, again, his stats, I just can't get over that. 7 goals. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Literally, it blows my mind. Like, that's amazing. And I've watched them a couple of times. And again, good football, like really good football. And one thing I will say quickly is that if there is sort of like a negative feeling from his side in terms of Manchester United, he won't have to look further than Donny van de Beek going to Manchester United. He won't have Van der Sar probably told him and was real with him, like, look, it's a mess over there, mate. I'm just going to be honest with you. We sold Donny to them. Donny didn't even get a look. Didn't even get a look. So he's
Do we
aware
have the
of what's
squad?
going on.
Do we have the squad to play Ten Hag football? Do you think?
No. We have some
But
players
does that change because we're going to have maybe a bit of a different squad in the summer?
Again, it's what they can sell to him. And I was saying this actually, if the Glazers are gonna, and the board, sorry, if the board and the Glazers are gonna sanction big money, like, and they want to go all out, like they've never gone all out before, then maybe Ten Hag takes the job and says, hey, look, you lot are giving me the tools that I need. As long as we can get players out, give him the money, give him the tools he needs to then identify what players that he wants to build a system.
But do you think the club then would be comfortable giving that amount of money to a guy that hasn't managed in a top European league? His experience is in the Eredivisie, essentially. He was a coach for Bayern Munich. Well, he's a manager for Bayern Munich second side. I think he was a coach for Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
are they comfortable?
Would you blame them for them being like, phew. But then I suppose isn't every managerial appointment a risk?
It is, but it's kind of when you go for a job and maybe you're in charge of the budget. Have you had any experience of spending that money and getting the best results for it? I think what kind of balances it out for him is that he does take young players and turns them into stars. He does. He takes young players and turns them into stars. So that might be appealing on one hand for the board and the Glazers, where this guy, you can give him a good young player, like a good young player with a promising future and potential, and he can actually work with them and get them to that level where they sell on for more in the future. To be honest, Ten Hag would actually be a great manager for Dortmund, if I was completely honest. I think the way he is with like very good players and young players, and then he could sell them on, I think he'd be a fit for them. But for us, again, it is a risk. You give that man 200 million.
But is it time to take a risk?
I think it is. We've been there before, haven't we? We've been there with, Mourinho. We tried Van Gaal, a lot of experience. We tried Mourinho, proven winner. Didn't really work out for a multitude of different reasons, and it's crazy. Van Gaal style of play was boring. It just wasn't. It wasn't very Manchester United like what we've known to love. Mourinho came in. Yeah, we won games, but again, not really the United style. Very pragmatic, and he got on a lot of people's nerves, and he pissed a lot of players off. Pissed the board off probably as well. So he wasn't the correct person to come in. Then you try Oli, United legend, hardly any experience. Yeah, I think he won it with Mulder, the cup with Mulder a few years ago or whatever. I think that was like 2013, 2014 he did that. If I can remember. I can't remember exactly.
I think he's won the league with Mulder a couple of times, yeah, but,
We could win the league with Mulder if he was manager. Do you know what I mean? So we've tried every sort of avenue. Bringing someone like Ten Hag in is, a manager that's on the ascendancy, but you have to create the environment for him to work in that's going to be good for him. Because if not, then I'd rather go for Poch.
Waiting for United to win a trophy says, just updated, 1,743 days now. Yes. I like it. There's no reason we can't be factually accurate here on the channel. Absolutely. Benji says, DJ... Bro, the stretch was real, but enjoying the show. The 8th is my birthday today. Let's hope United starts my weekend with a bang. I will even take a draw. So there you go. The weekend? I'll take a draw. Man City away. 100%. Absolutely. Finally, let's talk about Luis Enrique, because this is a guy that keeps getting linked to this role, even though it just seems really, really unlikely. So James Ducker from The Telegraph said that Mauricio Pochettino, Erik ten Hag, and Luis Enrique are among the names in the frame to become Manchester United's next permanent manager. Now, of course, big success with Barcelona. Actually, prior to that, not a ton of success, really, in his managerial career. Yeah. I think he was at Roma. I don't think a lot happened for him there. I think he did a decent job at Celta Vigo, which led to him becoming the Barcelona coach. But realistically, I think it was a guy that just, his playing career, he had a ton of experience with Barcelona. He was Barcelona captain, so he knows the culture of the club. Then obviously goes there, huge success, Champions League, La Liga titles. Now as the Spain manager, I think is doing a very good job as the Spanish national team coach, considering we're the generation after the golden generation when it comes to Spain. I mean, they got to a semi-final in the Euros this past summer that they really had no business getting to. Their squad's good, but they played some great stuff. And considering their squad, you went, wow, that's pretty impressive. The issue, I suppose, when it comes to Enrique is that the World Cup this year is in December. So why would he leave his country just months before a World Cup and come to Manchester United in, May, June, July? Does that make any sense?
It doesn't, but weirdly enough, I think United would be able to pull it off. I think they would be able to pull it off. And
so?
Again, it depends what they offer.
This is a World Cup we're talking about, DJ, for your
World
own country.
For your own country, I know.
If you were the England manager,
well,
this is a question. If you were the England manager and you're managing England in December, but Manchester United come to you in July and go, DJ, do you want to become manager of Manchester United today? What do you do?
Nah, I'm not going. Nah.
You wouldn't do it. See, you just said if I could pull it off.
But it's because I know the club. I know what they're about. So they'll come like, yeah, we're going to give you this amount of money. And you're probably thinking, well, I'm not worth that much. But all right, yeah, I'll take it. Do you know what I mean? No one's going to say no. But it's just, I think they could. I think on their day, if United get out the red carpet, get Sir Alex down to the ground, shine up the trophy cabinet that has got a lot of dust in it now, and say to him, look, this could all be yours. We're going to give you this, this, and this. Maybe he does. Maybe he thinks, you know what? I want to get back. Oh, yeah, I'll probably do that. But who knows? I wouldn't do it because I know what United are about. So, yeah.
What about, I'll throw this one at this scenario at you. What if, and this is how it gets pitched to him, we want you really to sit down, Lewis. Okay, we're having cups of tea and all that kind of stuff. And he's going, look, Lewis, we're really interested in you becoming the next permanent manager of Manchester United. We know you have a World Cup in December. We know about that, and we'll let you do it. Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
You've committed to it. Yeah, you can do that. Don't worry about it. They say because we've already got an interim manager. We've got an interim manager in charge right now. So what if they say to Luis Enrique, you agree to become the Manchester United manager. It gets announced after the World Cup, Luis Enrique is going to become the Manchester United manager. But until the end of the year, because that's when the World Cup ends, right? Mm-hmm. The World Cup is the finals on December 18th, something like that. World Cup ends at the end of the year. And then January 1st, Luis Enrique becomes Manchester United manager mid-season. And during that time, Ralph Rangnick remains as the interim Manchester United manager. Is that the most crazy scenario, or could that actually happen?
It's the most crazy scenario. I don't think it will happen. Why? Because I don't think it will. Yeah, it was good. It was good, though.
I would rule out anything at this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
How badly did they want him? If they really wanted him.
Yeah, it's true. And I just think that it's a lot of disruption to kind of the plans, because I think, all of us United fans just want a manager to be announced quite early on, quite quickly. They get in post. They then start looking at their targets. They start going out there, because you want your manager kind of settled before any players come in. That's kind of what we want as fans. We don't want players coming in and then it's the same issue that we're going to have. Players not being able to fit a system because the manager didn't want them. And that's the thing. We just want a manager here and now, done and dusted. Ralph, end of the season, go upstairs. You have some say in who the manager should be. I think I kind of trust Ralph's judgment. You get the new manager in, and then we start buying targets to fit the system that manager wants. That is what my dream is. It could be Ten Hag, it could be Poch, could even be someone that we haven't even considered this evening. And I have a sneaky suspicion it actually might be that if the other two rule themselves out. I absolutely have no idea. It could be Statman Campbell.
This is why I like you, DJ, because you always offer solutions. You always offer solutions to these kind of questions. It's like the Ronaldo situation the other day. Okay, what would you do with him? Well, that's not my job.
It's not my job.
It's not my job.
Because I know my lane. I'll critique it, but I can't fix it.
Exactly. Okay, then. Right. So out of these people then that we've spoken about tonight, whether it's Ancelotti, whether it's Rangnick, whether it's Pochettino, Ten Hag, Enrique, come the first game of next season, who do you think is going to be the Manchester United manager?
Who do I want or who do I think?
Well, we can do both.
Okay. I want Ten Hag. I think...
Why?
The reason why I want Ten Hag is because I've just been so impressed by his Ajax team. I think he is a manager that
how much of his Ajax team have you seen?
Only a little bit. If I'm honest,
only a couple of games. That is my point. And I think that'll be the same for a lot of people.
That's true.
You'll go Ten Hag and you'll go, how many Ajax games have you watched? And they'll go, wow, I saw him in the Champions League a couple of times. And it's like, okay. And we talk about sample sizes, right?
Yeah.
Like how many Pochettino games have you seen?
Guys, listen to me very carefully. I do not have a massive Eric Ten Hag sample size. I've seen Ajax, I think 3 or 4 times. Been impressed with what I've seen. The stats back it up. I'm like, yeah, that's your guy then. Get him in. And I also looked at kind of the players that he's blooded through. Big players
Like,
now.
I saw your face when I was reading off those stats earlier. Your eyes started widening. They started
Yeah,
going like that.
literally. Like, wow. Like, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. But at the same time, we have to. So yeah, I'd like Eric Ten Hag, but I do believe it's going to be Poch. I do believe it's going to be Poch. I think there's enough familiarity there with people behind the scenes at Old Trafford. Fergie's recommendation. He probably is going to win the French league. I think that will do it. Maybe even the Champions League. Who knows? He's got a team to do it. So I think they'll go for Poch.
Benji says, if we get Luis Enrique, KG is going to say we're winning the World Cup. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Who do I think it will be? You know what? I really don't know, and that's not me sitting on the fence. That's not me doing. I don't like to. That's not me doing. I don't want to do predictions. That's just me saying that a lot can change between now and the end of the season. That's what I've always said, and I'm always going to stick to it because I do think anything's possible in the sense that, like, Poch could do a madness at PSG between now and the end of the season, and then I think that Poch conversation looks entirely different. And I think that if he did do something crazy at PSG, people would be like, "Oh, do we want to keep him?" I think then some people would be like, we really, really want him. If he does terrible, if he goes out of the Champions League, when's the next round of games? Next week, or wherever it is, then maybe it's even more people are like, actually, you know what? Maybe we want to go for Ancelotti. Maybe Ancelotti's the right guy. I don't know. I really don't know. And like I said, I want to have...
Would you prefer Ancelotti over Ranić? If our two main guys, like Ten Hag...
No, I would have Ranić.
I'd have Ranić too. Yeah, I'd have Ranić too.
I would have him over Ancelotti because Ranić, frankly, has just been in this job longer. So I don't think there's as much of a transition. I think given what he's done already, if no other options, the key options were available, I think he's earned the right to be like, yeah, I can probably have my own, I can have a preseason, I can have a transfer window. Yeah. And I'd feel as a fan comfortable with that.
I'd feel
like a lot of people have said, I think, again, as I stress this as well, a lot can change between now and the end of the season because coming out of March, we can go 100% no way Ralph Rangnick should be the manager of Manchester United next season. On the flip side of it, if he does madness and wins all the games, we'll be like, maybe we need to have some conversations about Ralph sticking around in terms of being the manager. Because if we go to even if we go to the Etihad on Sunday, we won 2-0, we'll be like, didn't see that coming. You know,
Ollie used to beat them for fun, though, didn't he? Ollie used to beat City for fun.
The record recently, the last 5 years at the Etihad, we've won 2, drawn 1. I think I've won 3 and drawn 1, lost 1. Yeah, won 3, drawn 1, lost 1. Ollie, I don't think ever lost at the Etihad in the league, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
The one thing he was good at was beating Man City. He perfected that. And I saw someone saying this as well, and it's true. He's laid the blueprint. For if you were wise, you would just go like, what have we done in the past against City? And that basically is just counterattack, massive counterattack football. You know, 1, 2, like 2 passes over the top, boom. That's how you do it. Yeah. That's against Man City. Whether or not we'll do that the weekend, I don't know. But to answer the question I asked to you, who would I want? I'm very indifferent on it. Like when it comes to Poch or Ten Hag, I do think there's a bit of a much of the muchness there, to be honest. And again, maybe my opinion might sway on that towards the end of the season. Who do I think? I'm with you. I think Poch is probably more likely.
Yeah.
Because I think that the board will look at that as a safer bet, an easier bet.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a big chance Pochettino might not be employed by PSG at the end of the season as well.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing they might struggle with when it comes to Poch is that if Real Madrid are legitimately interested, then it comes down to what does Poch want?
Yeah.
Now, depending on who you believe, he's the United's job's the only job he's ever wanted.
Yeah.
But then you get Marca that come out and say, but he prefers to go to Real Madrid over Manchester United. My response to that is Marca's the same outlet. They're the same outlet that when you had that big game in the States a couple of years ago, so the giant stadium, and it was in 100,000 people there, all this kind of stuff. And it was a sea of red. It was a sea of red, the stadium. Next day in Marca, photoshopped all white. Yeah. So who are they leaning towards?
Yeah.
I think we know that answer.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Rudolph the Red, a bit of a festive name, even in March. Says, doesn't matter who we get. The board's got to screw them anyway, I think. And I tell you what, DJ, that's the kind of note I want to end the show on. That's the kind of I want to end the show on. So be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. What's on tap for the rest of the week? Tomorrow, I don't know what's coming up tomorrow. I was just going to make something up, but then that's a lie. So I think we've got something coming up tomorrow. Friday, of course, we're back for a press conference. Saturday, got a fun match preview ahead of the Manchester Derby. And then Sunday, it's match day, Manchester Derby day. Oh, have the nerves crept in yet, DJ?
Shall I be honest? I kind of don't care. Sorry, guys, I don't. I just think
and again, that's the kind of note I want to end the show
I don't. I just think, we'll see what happens. I'm intrigued a little bit to see kind of what Ranić's going to do because it's a big club. But we'll see. We'll just see.
Yeah, you really sold me on the match. I'm really excited to see it now. After that, I'm really excited to see it. Anyway, guys, we're out of here. Peace.